So what was going on? Okay, the jacket. Okay, the leather jacket that Richie got from this Rocco, right? Is that his name? Rocco? Whatever. I'll fix it if it's not. All right. Once I edit this, I'll fix it. No worries. So I'm just to go back a little bit. I am trying to be accurate, but obviously I'm way too sloppy for that right now. So I'm trying to get my ducks in a row, my birds in a row, my ducks. Wouldn't that be perfect? Because we're fucking talking about the Sopranos. But anyway, what's up with that jacket? Because it's pretty fucking obvious that Tony doesn't want that fucking jacket from the beginning, you know? Richie is like trying to force this jacket on him. And that's, he's fucking crazy, right? He's like crazy. We see that like in the future, uh, for what, like that episode when Tony faints, right? I'm sorry, I'm skipping ahead a little bit, but I just those eyes, when he's staring at Tony, he's like that shit was so scary. But yeah, so I feel like Richie to be offended over like giving Tony this jacket that he finds important, of course, that he, put all this emphasis on, and to like force it upon Tony. I don't know. I get it. I get what he was doing, but it's also like you can't fucking force someone to like a fucking jacket that you like. What if they don't find the same fucking importance in it? Like, that's kind of crazy. But then later on, when he sees it on on Tony's maid's husband, oh, so crazy. So crazy. I mean, Tony also should have just fucking thrown it away or thrown it in his closet, right? Matt and Sean trying to get rid of Christopher was so insane to me. Like, I could not figure it out in my brain. Like, I don't know how those kids thought that shit was gonna work. I don't know. But I mean, maybe that is to show that they're fucking kids. Because then they went to Richie and they're like, Richie, we're with you now. Like, trying to hide under Richie. And he's like, what the fuck? And that was like his face too, right? But yeah, dude, that was so sad. That was so sad. I think I finished that episode and I was like, we have to keep going. Because it's like Christopher's the youngest one there. I mean, besides these two guys, but he's like next to be bumped up. So, and he's just so troubled. I think that's what the word is, troubled. He's so troubled. Like, I just want to, I don't know, talk about him. But yeah, that was kind of a bummer. Okay, and this one was so intense. So intense. Um like Christopher waking up and being like, I went to hell, and then Polly just fucking losing it in the whole episode. Like having bad dreams when he goes to see the psychic, and the psychic is like, there's all these guys behind you. It's such a mind fuck. Actually, that was like one of my favorite episodes, just because I love Polly so much too, right? And just seeing him like freak out too. I was, I mean, it was fun. It was funny. It was interesting because he's like the toughest one, right? Um, but yeah, that was crazy. You know what was so intense too was Carmela praying to God and like asking for Christopher to be spared and to grant him vision when he comes out of, the whole thing. And he lives. And then later on, she's like, oh my God, Christopher. Tony told me that you went to heaven, and I'm so glad because I did pray for you that night. And I told God to grant you vision so you can just wake the fuck up, from what you're doing in like your actual physical life. And Well, I mean, that's why it was such a big deal, right? Like, that's why, I mean, that's such a difficult thing to lie about. But at the same time, it's like, can you imagine if Tony told Carmela that Christopher went to hell? Like, what is she? I mean, I feel like she would have done the same thing again, too, though, right? So, I mean, Tony could have just fucking told her, oh, he said he went to hell, but, you know, that motherfucker has a lot of shit on his mind. So, I don't know, man. Like, I watched the show and I'm like, oh, man, Tony, you fucked up, bro. No fucking wonder, bro. No fucking wonder, man. No wonder Carmela's on your ass all the time. Seeing Adriana crying, of course, because her fucking newly engaged newly engaged partner, her new her what do you her I want to emphasize that they were just engaged and that now he was her fiance. What do you call that? Whatever. Now you know what I'm talking about. Her like partner, obviously Christopher, that just freaking asked her to marry him finally, and then he gets fucking shot. And she's like sobbing and she's crying. And oh my god, the whole thing's ridiculous. It's fucking crazy, bro. I was losing my brains. And then seeing like Tony and Pussy bonding, right? Because they found out where Matt was. And it was supposed to be Pussy and Furio, right? And Tony was like, no, I want to do this. Like, this shit is personal, you know? So he's like, tell Furio not to go. It'll just be me and you, Pussy. So they go together. Also, we know, of course, that Pussy is just like trying to get close to him, trying to get tight with him to get like info to be able to just get the information that he needs so he can get the fuck out of there. You know what I mean? So, I don't know. It was crazy. It's like heartwarming to see them bond again, so that's why it's kind of like sour at the same time, you know what I mean? Like, cuz they were friends. Like, I'm going to keep saying that. Like, it's just cuz Tony has a bromance with like most of these guys, all these guys, you know. So, it's kind of like nice to see them bonding, but at the same time it's like you know that there's a fucking betrayal there. And like seeing it from the outside as like the viewer, obviously, it's just like you're just like you know. Okay, so when there's like a little kid lost at the mall or near the carousel where Tony's at, and he says mommy, and then they give us that scene. So it cuts back to, you know, Tony's memory of before he's gonna get rid of the kid. And he's like, he yelled mommy, you know? It was like spine tingling. Like, I got goosebumps. I was like, ugh, you know? Because it's supposed to be like not an innocent thing to see a kid saying mommy, but when you have it tied into a memory like that, like, it's crazy. You know, a big bravo to Tony Soprano. Okay, well, not a big bravo because he did fuck up pretty big in the beginning when he yelled at AJ because him and Carmela were arguing. Like, it wasn't fucking AJ's fault. He was just in the kitchen. So of course when he drops this dish, Tony fucking tells him, like, he tells Carmela, this is supposed to be my male heir. And he walks away super mad in that. Just, dude, like, I felt that pain. I was like, oh, you fucking asshole, you know? So that happened. But the fact that he went up to him and he apologized, that was nice. Come on. That's what makes Tony Soprano so fucking complex, is that the dude has to think for like everyone. He has to think for his family, even though he fucking doesn't all the time. You know, he has to think for the guys that work under him, the guys that work with him, because he has to try to keep everyone satisfied, right? At least just barely enough where they just stay quiet and they're not like a humongous problem. So I mean, I don't know. That's what makes him so great, because he is also a little bit selfish, but he tries to be fair, you know? That's why he goes up to AJ, because he could have been a fucking dick and, like, not gone up to his kid and not said anything and just let it go. He went to apologize, to try to make peace. So props to that. Yes, Tony. And then Carmela and Vic. What the fuck? What the fuck? What? She knew what she was doing. So you know what? I think it's very important to also look at her going to look for him, which was already creepy, you know, and saying thank you for thinking for the both of them. But we also do know that he's just scared of Tony. So that's why he left her hanging. Because if it would have been any other dude, I'm pretty sure he would have been in there, you know? But once he found out what was happening with Davy and how Davy fucking lost everything to Tony, like, he was like, hell no, bro. I'm not gonna get involved. And that's the biggest fucking thing. Like, it just shows you that you have to be careful who you get involved with, you know? That's why people don't want to get near Tony. That's why people don't want to get near Carmela, you know? It's for the kids. Also, can we talk about Janice and Richie? Because that relationship bothers the heck out of me. Every time they're on screen, I'm like, no, no, mm-mm. My brain is like, no, like, no. But we see her slowly going back to the type of person that she was when she lived here on the East Coast, right? And then him too, because you don't see them going back to yoga. You don't see them waking up in the morning and going to take a jog and just being completely different people than what they were before. Like, they found each other again. But it ended up being like the same toxic relationship that it was in the beginning. And I don't want to get too ahead of myself here, but it's just like, yeah, like, that's what happened there. And it's sad because they're adults, you know? You know? Okay. And then Tony was doing pretty good, right? He wasn't like banging anyone besides Carmela when she had told him, like, please, I want you to, like, be faithful to me, please. Which should have came with the fucking ring, right? But whatever. Um, and then Carmela tells him, like, I want you to be faithful to me. He's getting this nasty rash, right? He's like scratching it with a ruler and everything. It's like so nasty. And yeah, he's bored out of his freaking mind at his office job, but he has to be there, else he's gonna get in trouble, right? So he gets bored, he gets this rash, he's fucking stressed. Dr. Melfi's like, you need stress management or whatever, right? So he goes and he bangs a born again Christian secretary, which is just like so insane to me. So insane. But yeah. And like at the end of this episode is when you see him just end up back again where he was from. Going to sit outside of the deli with his boys watching this car crash. Oh, isn't that crazy? Like, they're all watching the car crash, right? And then Pussy goes inside. Pussy's like not part of it. Like, he goes inside, and and the FBI is there, and Tony and the guys are there, and they're watching this thing that just happened. And then it was crazy because earlier in the episode we saw Dr. Melfi go like talk to her therapist, right? To her psychiatrist, and she's like, yeah, I can't, like, I'm so repulsed by the things that he says, but at the same time, like, I want to hear it, which is also like, you know, when you see a bad car crash or okay, so the saying is just like watching a train wreck where you just can't look away. So like that's the way that Dr. Melfi feels about like hearing about Tony and his life, you know? And she also doesn't want to fucking let him go for some reason. I don't know. She needs someone in her life, I'm just saying something to take up the time, because she is kind of like obsessed with keeping Tony around. Tony keeps saying, I don't think I need to be here anymore. And she's like, no, I think you need it. Why would you say that? She's drinking. I don't know. The whole thing is crazy. And Junior, like wanting to establish this friendship with Catherine, that was so freaking cute. I thought it was adorable. Because he is like, he's ashamed, of course, embarrassed that he can't leave his house because he's under house arrest. Her son is like a police detective, like Catherine's husband was like a police detective, right? So it's like, I think he wants to respect the fact that Catherine's husband was like in the opposite team, on the what do you call it? On the opposing team. Obviously the law, and he's obviously in crime, but maybe that's part of the reason why. But they're just like, we see that she laughs at his joke, the first joke that he like throws at her, and meanwhile he's surrounded by people that haven't been laughing at any of his jokes. So it kind of shows us like, wow, they're like closer in age, she gets his humor, it's like a real connection, something that he has been lacking. He talks to Livia. Livia rings him up. Somehow she heard that he's hanging out with Catherine. Such a strange thing. But Junior like woke up and he doesn't want to be affiliated with Livia at all because he kind of like, he knows. And then him and Catherine talk about it. They know how miserable Livia and her life are. It's like sad. It's not kind of sad, like it's sad. So Richie wanting to get Tony killed, and then Janice being like, yeah, Richie, you should, you got what it takes. No. Richie does not have what it takes. He's too selfish, and Tony has said it to him. He's too selfish, He's not gonna, obviously he doesn't know what the consequences of what he's doing are. The fact that he wants to sell coke on these jobs that are supposed to be clean jobs, as in not have any illegal things tied to them. That way they have money that's clean money still coming in no matter what. Like, it's ridiculous. Like, I don't know how he doesn't think about that. I feel like Tony doesn't have to sit and explain everything to him. I feel like it should be kind of obvious, but maybe he should have. Maybe he should have taken the fucking time to sit Richie down and be like, listen, you miserable fuck. This is how it works. And like, draw it on a piece of paper. Like he was making that basketball hoop or whatever, or that pool, It was crazy. I think that would have changed a lot, but not really knowing Richie. But it was, very intense. This is the episode, right, where Tony passes out. And like right before Tony passed out, he was talking to Richie, and like that's when Richie was staring at him with those freaking eyes. And then we get Janice and Richie getting into that fight. That night, Janice had given Livia those 2 pills. I don't know what they're called. What are they, sleeping pills or something? Or a heavy dose of a sedative is what I'm thinking. And if I'm wrong, then at least that was my educated guess. But he punches her in the mouth and he doesn't fucking apologize. He fucking grabs his plate, sits at the table after punching her in her mouth, And he starts eating. And he says, "Were you gonna cry or what? You piece of shit. Why?" Had he really changed? No. This dude is not doing enough yoga, obviously, you know? So, of course, Janice, being a hothead herself, goes, gets a gun, and gets rid of him. And then she regrets it. And then we see that they're both kind of the same. Because I'm pretty sure he was going to regret punching her in some time. Hopefully, you know. I guess we're never going to find out. But so, I mean, that was bittersweet. Because it's like, you don't want them to be together, but you also don't want one of them to have to, like, leave, you know? Especially because Richie was entertaining when he was helping Junior take his hand out of the kitchen drain or whatever, the sink. And he's like, "You're flexing." So good. He's like, what is he saying? He's like, what was he saying? Calm down or relax. He was like, calm down. So good. So good. So definitely gonna miss him. Janice, not so much, but definitely hoping she finds peace. And in this episode, we see Tony stand up for his sister to his mom, which is good. Because you know what? I'm sick of this whole, you know, she's his mom, whatever. Because he fucking tried to do that. He tried to say, well, she's my mom. What am I gonna do? Get mad about it? Yeah, get fucking mad about it. You know she prevented your dad from trying to get you guys out of this lifestyle. You know she freaking didn't care about you at all because she was too in her own head. She didn't know how to take care of herself, but she still somehow decided to have kids. And the fact that Dr. Melfi's like, you have to admit that your mom fucking sucks, you know? And he finally did, and he said it to his face, to her face. And she just starts crying. And she goes, "You're not even gonna kiss me?" And he goes, "What the fuck, bro? Are you serious? We just had a fucking argument, and now you want me to go up to you and plant a kiss on you?" He leaves the house, goes down the steps, falls, drops his gun. He's on the floor, and his fucking crazy ass mom laughs. Just, of course, we see Tony and his Gumar and how she's like, dude, this is like some beautiful young little Russian girl, you know? Or like she's like in her early 20s, right? And because that just sounded weird. I didn't mean she's like a girl, you know, but she's in her early 20s or something, maybe mid 20s. So I thought it was so intense how they were talking about time. And when Silvio goes to visit her to give her the $75,000 that Tony is giving her just to like fucking leave and do whatever the fuck she wants at that point because he wants nothing to do with her because obviously she's calling his house. Like, I don't know. But he emphasizes how time is the biggest enemy for women because it goes by like this and then we start getting like this, you know, like these fucking things right here, and then like it's just I thought it was so true in the fact that they touch upon it because obviously she didn't get that modeling job that she wanted to go get, and she doesn't look old at all, but they said that she was too old. And this girl is like giving her best years to Tony. And I think that's what it was. He finally got fucking sick of it and he finally like thought about it and he was like, damn, bro, like what is she gonna do? You know? So, I mean, and when Carmela goes, "You're putting me in a position where I'm supposed to feel bad for your mistress?" Excuse me. What the fuck? It's insane. Like, rolling of the eyes. Hardcore. This was, like, so interesting. All the dream scenes, the dream sequences, everything. So good. I was trying to figure everything out, obviously. Um, in the dream when Pussy shows up as a fish, like, he's gonna be sleeping with the fishes, you know. He says, I'm $4 a pound, but I forget how much he weighed as a fish. Um, the fact that Tony, like we talked about in the last video, in the previous video, he knew something was up with Pussy. He could feel it. Dude, that's it. Like, energy just doesn't lie. Energy doesn't lie. No matter what, you need to have evidence and shit. Yeah, that's the most important shit. Which is exactly why he went to go look in Pussy's room and he found the freaking wire. So Tony was sick. And of course he's like, I'm fucking dying. He's getting all depressed, which, by the way, let's talk about that. When he's lying in bed and he wakes up the first time and he's all like crying and he goes, Carmela, none of it matters. If that is not just like one of the most intense depictions of like the bottom of the depression pit, I don't know what is. He's lying in bed. He wakes up. He's feeling like shit. He's not feeling good. He doesn't know what it is yet. So he's just like feeling not good. But he feels something. And yeah, it happens to be in the pit of his stomach. How intense is that? And he's like, none of it matters. He starts crying. Tony Soprano is crying in bed talking to his wife, and he says none of it matters. And she says to him, that's your mother talking. Come on. That scene was so intense, for me at least. And then it keeps going, and I really wanted to know I really want to know, because maybe we'll see in the future, what that scene meant where Tony sees Junior like peering at him through a broken window and like in an old abandoned building somewhere near the boardwalk. That's the one that I'm interested in finding out. And why in his dream he shoots Polly in the station of some sort, right? So my brain has been like sinking its teeth, if my brain had teeth, whatever, into all of these dreams that he had. And how when he was talking to Dr. Melfi and then she turns into Annalisa. So very, very intense. I'm so interested in seeing what season 3 holds. Because this one ended with a lot. And having to see Tony finally see for himself that Pussy is the dude that stabbed him in the back. Which I'm sure felt even more like shit because Pussy was trying to come up and be like his BFFF again. You know? So they had just been bonding the last couple episodes. But then Pussy started harboring a lot of resentment towards Tony. Which is why he kept going deep with the fucking feds again. And then when Tony had this crazy dream that just triggered this, like, listen, like, it's him. It's Pussy. Like, he's betraying you. And he went based off of a dream. He saw that it was true. Took him out to a boat. Polly and Silvio were having a freaking hard time too. But Silvio had to leave the deck of the boat. It was insane. It was sad. It just was. The situation is just so messed up. Because, yeah, they're not great guys. They're not perfect guys, you know? But that's not the point. The point is that they're human. And this was maybe. What if someone really had that fucking life? You're gonna say it's not sad? No. Sadness is everywhere, you know? Betrayal is everywhere. So this is just the way that it happens in the show. So it is sad. Because you do know that all these guys have been like brothers. Because Tony has been saying that he loves all of them. He loves pussy. He loves pussy, you know? So, for them to take the shots of tequila, everyone knew what was gonna happen, man. Everyone knew. Tony, of course, he knew. Silvio knew. Polly knew. Pussy, he already knew. Because he felt it. He knew. And then what do? Of course, they have to get rid of him. Because, like, in real life, someone betrays you like that, how do you take them back? That is a serious thing. How? It doesn't mean you have to kill them, but, you know, maybe in the real life, you, like, metaphorically just get rid of that person by cutting them off. But this is the mob. So there's no room for error, like, at all there. But season 2 was such a good time. I'll see you again for season 3.